good deal. Thanks. Hi, I'm Kristin Lieb from Emerson College in Boston. Yes, made it out last night. Very happy about that. And I'm here today to talk about some of the subjects from a book that I recently released on Routledge called Gender Branding and the Modern Music Industry. This presentation is called Oops, We Did It Again, the Manufacturing of Female Popular Music Stars. I have a strange background. I did work in the music business for as long as I've now worked in academia. I was a freelance writer. I ran Newbury Comics Interactive. I worked for a hip-hop label out in Los Angeles, and I sort of brought everything that I learned together in writing this book about the representation of female popular music stars. I noticed that there were some disturbing patterns that I didn't really care for, and I set about sort of figuring out why. I don't think this is advancing, no? Okay, so this new book, basically, the centerpiece of it is a life cycle model that talks about the different phases female pop stars at the highest level of the industry, not PJ Harvey, whom I love, but this book sort of deals with the rule rather than sort of the exceptional at the sort of indie level. It, as its centerpiece, has this life cycle model. The life cycle model is developed based on in-depth interviews with 21 music industry insiders who have worked in PR capacities, management capacities, et cetera, with artists who perform sort of at the platinum level or higher, and increasingly who are able to extend their brand into different entertainment verticals, television, film, fragrances, clothing lines, et cetera, et cetera. This started as my dissertation. As I became a professor, I started reading other disciplines into it, so now I sort of look at this gender problem in the music industry through the lens of sociology, gender studies, pop culture studies, marketing, and communication. Basically, the book concerns itself with these artists who have risen to prominence after MTV, the point at which, to me, sound and image became inextricably linked. You didn't have the experience of hearing something before you saw it, ever again, really, for the most part. Basically, the book argues that female pop stars have become this thing that I define as a short-term person brand, someone who is designed to sort of make as much money as fast as humanly possible by being leveraged into all these different entertainment industry verticals. And a couple of rules that sort of come out of this, and these are relentlessly depressing. I'm certainly not advocating for them. They're merely things that came out of my findings. That for female pop stars, again, these are the people who are sort of killing it at the highest level of the music industry. Your core asset is your body. It's not your musical talent. It's not your voice. Your body must fit into pre-established types, which you'll see in a minute, and these types dictate your representation. So as you progress through the life cycle model, you inhabit these different types. You start looking and sounding different in order to embody them. Type 1, the good girl. If you want to succeed at the highest level of the industry, you better come to market as a good girl. You can come to market as a bad girl, but you're just shortening your life cycle. Again, for the dominant artists, indie artists can play by different rules, and my second book will be about that. Anyway, type 1, we look at Britney Spears when she's brand new, and Christina Aguilera when she's brand new, and Avril Lavigne covered from head to toe. We haven't seen that in a decade. And Taylor Swift looking like a different human being than we're seeing her look like in certainly the last year or two. So, nobody really escapes good girl if they want to have a career. Type 2, the temptress. This is what the good girl becomes in time, sometimes as she becomes of, the age of consent, as she reaches sort of 18. It's disgusting, but some of these people had their earliest videos made by Gregory Dark, a literal pornographer, literally Britney Spears, Mandy Moore, people like that. So in the temptress phase, basically people's clothes start falling off, as you can see evidence of here. And you can see Taylor Swift right here is the latest sort of entrant into the category. She started in this more conservative country mode, but as she's sort of, become an early 20-something, they've decided that they need to sex her up, or she has decided that. All kinds of people are involved in making those decisions, so I don't sort of ascribe the blame to any one of them. Then you have the diva. This is where you really want to be, because if you care about your music, this is the one place that you can actually be known for your vocal ability, right? So we have exemplars, the late Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Beyonce, Adele. These are the people that when we talk about them, we talk about their music. We don't talk about their clothes. We don't talk about who they're dating. We don't talk about, anything really but their music. Beyonce is making a bit of a change, right? For those of you who have seen Bow Down Bitches, she's taking a very, very different tone than she's ever sort of taken before. If you saw her Super Bowl performance, you might be saying, well, I'm not sure that she's sort of going to remain in this diva category. She may be destined for another one. I should say that my categories are not mutually exclusive. You can exist in several of them simultaneously. I'd show you the whole model, but this format doesn't really allow it, so I'm just focusing on a few of them. Type number 4. And I should, because I see the word whore on the screen, point out that all of these terms that I'm using came from my industry respondents. So it's people who ready these women for popular consumption. So some of them are not kind terms, nor are they academic terms, but they say what they need to say with respect to representation. So in the whore category, people are depicted as pretty much completely naked in highly sexualized positions. The focus becomes almost exclusively on sex as opposed to on music. That is now, sort of a tertiary concern. Then we have the exotic. This term I sort of created in finger quotes. All this means is we don't really exactly know what your race or ethnicity is, so we don't know exactly how to package you, so you're exotic, right? And I put everyone from Norah Jones, because Norah Jones was somebody that people did hear on the radio before they really saw her, and listener reactions really broke her. But she was positioned by some of my respondents as someone who wasn't quite hot enough to really be a pop star, as hilarious as that is. Kelly Clarkson was the other one, who were like the surprises, like the Adele now. But yes, the exotic, you can see sort of what I mean by that. Nicki Minaj is exotic, but she's exotic sort of for a different reason than Norah Jones. Then we have the provocateur. The provocateur basically is better known for button pushing, right? Have I bothered you yet? Are you offended yet? So the first image, for those of you who don't know, is Joe Calderone, Lady Gaga's male alter ego, who she performed as at the Video Music Awards. Then you have Pink, then you have Madonna. Lady Gaga talks about what a free bitch she is all the time, but I made the point in the book and would like to make the point here that we have so many sort of reinforcing forces going on with these representations that she isn't free at all, right? On the one hand, we have the social world dictating to women sort of what they're supposed to look like, what they're supposed to behave like. Then you've got your music industry people sort of telling you what has succeeded in the past and what you might want to consider. Then you've got yourself, right? This is a woman living in society saying, well, I think I should do this, that, and the other thing, and I'll be a big hit. And then you've got the audience who has become so accustomed to these female pop stars sort of coming prepackaged with a Maxim profile that we don't know what to do if somebody just wants to be heard. Type number 7, the hot mess. Again, a term that came out of my respondents. This basically means something has happened with the star. They're behaving incredibly badly in public. Usually it's being covered in a way that makes people laugh, although a lot of times, there are addiction problems and things like that going on in the background, which is producing this behavior. But this is a very, very bad place to be. It's very hard to recover from. Obviously, we know that Amy Winehouse was not able to recover from this position, but people like Britney certainly have, and people like Christina Aguilera certainly have. So I thought in finishing, I would just take you quickly through a visual, sort of collage of 3 artists sort of from beginning to, within the last couple of years. So the first is Britney Spears. Okay, so we've got her on her first album cover. We've got her then on the cover of Blender representing as Temptress. Down on the second Blender cover, she's looking more like whore. And then if Entertainment Weekly puts you on the cover and says, oh, the horror, you're probably a hot mess. Then Avril Lavigne, this one is really striking, right? She comes to market as like the punk skater chick who kind of isn't like the other girls. Like she could not be more covered up if she tried, or if she might put on a snow mask or something. Then she sort of grows up a little bit. Fine, right? It's not a ridiculously overly sexualized picture, but then bam, she gets her Maxim profile. That's looking a lot more like, something that we'd see in the whore, pictorial. And then she goes to Blender, and then she goes to Maxim. And she's sort of hovering around this image right now, even though her target market is very, very young girls. Finally, Hannah Montana, another classic story. She starts as a Disney star. Let's not forget that Christina Aguilera and Britney both started as Mouseketeers. Hannah Montana starts to grow up, gets into Temptress. Again, nothing wrong with that representation, but then we get down to can't be tamed and all that that suggests. For those of you who have seen the video, she's like this wild bird creature in a cage who's like trying to break free, and we get her midriff and so on and so forth. And as she tries to grow up in public and become Miley Cyrus, not what has happened to Hannah Montana, she's experimenting with looks and things like that. That one has her looking like maybe hot mess, but some of her TV appearances recently, I would argue, signal some hope, I would say, for her career future as Miley Cyrus as opposed to Hannah Montana. So thank you so much for having me. I totally appreciate it. And if you're interested, you can find me there.